It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, talking property news, of course. We do that 7 days a week, as heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Hope your working week is going well, starting to disappear once again, up to a Thursday morning. And July the 25th, not a lot of gas in the tank for the rest of July before we hit August. Now in Sydney, we hear all the time about these 1 million plus homes that are being sold despite being uninhabitable, featuring issues like rotting ceilings, crumbling interiors and fire damage. You name it, falling to pieces. And why are people buying these unlivable properties, you ask? Well, you would be right if you come up with the answer due to a severe shortage of move-in ready homes, particularly in inner and middle ring suburbs. The uncertainty around the ongoing issue of rate rises are still really sort of discouraging potential sellers. So that's part of the problem. And despite the condition of many of these very, very derelict homes, they have been selling, as we know, for huge, big money. And this is a subject we are going to be looking at, talking about next week. Good morning to Ronnie in Chatswood in Sydney, a listener of the podcast. You wrote in to say that you are in your late 50s. You have lived in Sydney all of your life and you've decided to sell up and move to the Sunshine Coast, which you say in part has been made easier with the coverage that we've given many times this year about the Sunshine Coast. Hey, don't forget, Ronnie, about Hervey Bay, because that is another area that we talk about all the time with Scott up there in Hervey Bay. And you say that the Sydney property market has been good for you over the last 30 years, but now it's the lifestyle piece of your life that you are focused on with you and your wife, Alan, and your 3 adult children. So thank you so much for letting us know that bit of news, Ronnie. And if you would like to let us know what you are doing with your property journey, our email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. And this morning, once again, we are catching up with Nick Buick, the founder and CEO of the Onsite Manager. And a very good morning, Nick. Welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. I believe that you had a very, very big night with the top awards, which took place on Tuesday night for the Onsite Managers. So first off, tell us a little bit about all of that.
Yeah, good morning, Craig. Thanks for having us. The top awards is the awards that are for on-site managers and industry service providers that operate in that specific space.
And how many people turned up on the night on Tuesday?
Yeah, there was a bit over 500, I was told. So it was the largest of the awards that have happened to date. They've been running for around 5 years. And then we combined that. My agency actually runs its own awards as well, called The Awards. So this was the first year that we combined the two together into a single awards night. Yeah.
Yeah, great. How many different categories are there, out of curiosity?
I believe there was 6 top awards, and then we had the awards, which was 4 different categories. So we had one for industry service providers. That's like lawyers and accountants and plumbers and anyone that specializes in working in strata managed complexes. And then we had the brokerage award for the brokerage firm that sells management rights. And then we had an individual broker award for the brokers that work in those brokerages. And then we had the Manager of the Year award as well.
Congratulations, I guess, to all of the winners on Tuesday night with regard to that. Now, this morning we're going to step through the very starting point of somebody wanting to be an on-site manager. We have been, with your help, educating our listeners about the industry, but let's look at someone who has decided to go for it and become an on-site manager. Perhaps typically, what are the first few steps, Nick, that somebody should be thinking about and the steps that they should be taking?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And it's one that I often get asked. People often ring my office and say exactly that. It's important to note that on-site managers are real estate agents. So the first thing that you'd need to do is to complete your license training and get accredited so that you have a real estate license. There's a couple of different levels of real estate license. In Queensland, the first level is called a resident letting agent, so an RLA, resident letting agent, and that's the simplest license to get. But I always tell people if you're going to do the training, you might as well do all the modules and get a full principal agency license. It's not that much more difficult. It doesn't cost that much more money. And then you have the flexibility to do anything in real estate. So you can be an on-site manager, you can sell lots in your scheme, you can sell lots outside of your scheme, and you can manage lots inside and outside of your scheme as well. So that's the first step, would be to get those licenses in place. And once you do that, obviously you need to start looking around at management rights. The onsite-manager.com.au has basically every single management rights that is for sale in the country on that site. And then you need to get industry membership. So there's a body called ARAMA, which is the Australian Resident Accommodation Managers Association. It's sort of like the REIQ for on-site managers. So it represents the interests collectively of on-site managers in the industry. It lobbies government, it provides training, and it runs social events, and it protects the interests of on-site managers. It is important to be a member of that if you're looking to buy a management rights, because one of the things that happens when you purchase a management rights is that you have to be interviewed by the body corporate committee, and they have veto power. So they can choose not to allow you to buy that management rights if they don't think you're qualified or up to the task. So being a member of the peak body for managers is an important step there in showing that you have interest in this industry and you're accredited, basically.
All right, so we are talking with Nick from the On-Site Manager. We'll come back and continue the conversation after this.
From buying strategies, a fluctuating market, the importance of data, geographical differences, confidence in the market, rental yields. Stay informed every morning from 6 a.m.
Well, I see that two Australian tech workers from Channel 9 narrowly avoided serious injury after an attempted robbery in Paris. And police are also, of course, investigating claims of a 25-year-old Australian woman being raped by 5 men in Paris. Not off to a great start, it would have to be said, about this year's Olympics. Are you looking forward to the Olympics is probably the question to ask. Are you genuinely excited? I don't know anybody that is talking about this year's Olympics. You know, you go back 20 years ago, people would congregate around the TV set, but now with social media and Netflix and all of the other content competing for eyeballs, has the Olympics almost become irrelevant?
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights.
And it is a Real Estate Thursday. We are talking with Nick Buick, the founder and CEO of the On-Site Manager this morning. And just before the break, you were talking about the ARAMA body. I just want to come to this question of why do management rights have a different membership to regular real estate agents?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So all real estate agents around Australia are represented by the REI, the Real Estate Institute. So in Queensland, for instance, it's the REIQ, which is the Real Estate Institute of Queensland. So that is a very large group, and it looks after the interests of all real estate agents. It advises government on policy. It basically advises the industry in how to act and how to perform. So that's important. But for on-site managers, they're a little bit different because they are a real estate agent, but they are also providing other services such as caretaking. And so their requirements are quite different and quite esoteric. and there's a lot of subtleties there in the way they have to do things. So they have a separate industry body, which is a RAMA, and that is specifically for on-site managers. So they are real estate agents, and they can join the REI as well, and often they do. As an on-site manager, it's very important that they have that membership with a RAMA, because that's where their interests are protected. In particular, at the moment, there's a lot of bad press about caretakers and how much they're paid, and we've covered that in a few past podcasts, I think, Craig. But a RAMA was instrumental in advising government about some policies that they were looking at making that would have been extremely damaging for the entire industry. So they do some important work.
Now, you sort of talk about the different nuances, I think, with a RAMA. It's something that people sort of need to factor in terms of the way that they think about entering the industry. Do you have many real estate agents themselves deciding to get into your industry?
Yes, sometimes, and often will swap around with buildings. So they'll buy the management rights to a building. It may be an underperforming building, and it'll be that they buy that at a good price, and then they can build that building up, grow the letting pool, increase their revenue streams, and then in turn that increases what's called the multiplier, and then they can sell that building at a profit. So a lot of managers will buy into a building and out of it within 4 or 5 years, and then go to another building, and often they'll a foot in each pond. So they might be also acting as a normal real estate agent for listings around that building as well, and then if they sell that building, they'll keep those listings, and then they'll just be acting like a normal independent real estate agent for a term before buying the next building. So yeah, they often switch between the two, because in essence they are a real estate agent just like anyone else. They're recognised as a real estate agent under the law, so they can certainly wear both hats.
So we are talking this morning all about the first few things that you need to get your head around. As Nick has mentioned, sit your real estate licence. You've then got to go before the body. They've got to sort of look you over, make sure that you're a reasonable person to be in the position of the on-site manager world. In typical timeline, just to finish up here, Nick, how long would that sort of take when somebody sort of starts out from beginning to being accepted, real estate license? How long are we sort of talking about?
A RAMA, you can join a RAMA relatively quickly. So if you look at buying a high-rise apartment building, buying the management rights to that building, then that building has a body corporate, and the committee on that body corporate, they're the ones that are going to look you up and down and say, are you good enough to be managing this building or not? Because if you get a bad manager in a building, it can be quite damaging to the performance of that building. That's the committee's role is to do that evaluation, the body corporate committee.
So certainly plenty of things to think about. Nick, thanks so much once again for coming on and just explaining all of these little starting points where somebody needs to be thinking about what the procedure is. No doubt there's plenty more things that we're going to be talking about next time. Hey, enjoy your Thursday and congratulations on that big night on Tuesday.
Thanks so much for having us, Craig.
From first-time home buyers to seasoned investors to breaking property news, discover the stories behind the real estate.
We're seeing a lot of first home buyers buy in Cloncurry. So there's a lot of inquiry from around Australia, but a lot of first home buyers are seeing the opportunity to buy a house in Cloncurry that is cheaper than nearly anywhere and be able to pay the same as they were paying in rent, if not cheaper.
Yes, I'm just looking at the median price there of around $211,000. This is in Cloncurry. You don't need much of a deposit to get into the market.
That's right, and it buys you a really nice property. So $200,000 at the moment in Cloncurry gets you a neat 3-bed, 1-bath house on a good size block. So 800 to 1,000 square metres is standard for us, in a good area that you can come home to every night knowing it's yours and be comfortable. $200,000 is not necessarily a tear down job that needs to be fixed up. It's a neat home in Cloncurry.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.